Did we talk Smart at all? Because I've obviously been really high on Smart.
We
waited
know
for you. We waited for you purposely.
we purposely put that to the side.
Yo, Bobby, they were talking shit, yo. Before we
There's
went on,
someone in the chat right now who's been screaming us the whole time, like these bozos won't talk about Smart, and I've just been laughing at it.
I think Smart. Listen, I'm gonna get the flack immediately here, but I think Smart. These
Don't
last
say
two
the word.
games has been phenomenal.
Use the right adjective. Use the right adjective. All right.
You used it.
I think Smart has just been phenomenal. That's the word that pops into my head. Like, there's no
use it
better
a lot.
word I can think.
You used
Yes,
it a lot.
and I think it's fitting of this situation. He has come in and gotten guys shots in their locations. He has pushed the pace. He has completely shut down some solid opposing guards over these last two games here, and he hasn't shown any urgency in taking his own shot or trying to solve things himself on the offensive end of the floor. I just think his defense gets so taken for granted at this point, and you look at what he's able to bring as a facilitator, especially early on in this game. He's been a big help for them. And listen, he's not like Kyle Lowry or Lonzo Ball or some of these star guards that are going to put up big scoring nights. He has zero in a game like this, but I just feel like he was as impactful as you would see a guy having like a 15, 20-point game. He just does it in all the other different areas that you don't necessarily see or show up on the stat sheet. I think that's such a real thing with him, and the plus minus these last two games really shows it more than anything.
Yeah, but I mean, they're blowouts. Again,
everything for him, man.
They're
but he's out there establishing those.
I know, but I mean,
Rob after stop.
Rob was 42, Tatum was 36, Smart was 36, Brown was 35, and Grant Williams in 23 minutes was a plus 28. So I mean, everybody had a massive plus
Smart's
minus.
doing it with 0 points. So he's doing it in other areas to be able to.
Right, because Tatum and Brown are scoring all the points when he's on the floor. I mean, it's obviously like, I'm not taking it away from him, but the fact that he didn't score doesn't make the plus minus that more remarkable. It's everyone around him is doing the scoring while he's out there. That actually lends to the narrative that he's a passenger. But
you're going to give him props for Bradley Beal drought? No? The Bradley Beal drought? Who forgot he was playing in that game?
That's what I just wanted to use a different adjective than phenomenal. I thought Marcus Smart was good tonight.
we should new rule.
That doesn't equate phenomenal. That doesn't equate phenomenal.
I don't think you could look at 0 points on 0 for 3 field goals, 7 assists, 3 turnovers, and phenomenal pops. He's really
in a 50-point win.
In a 50-something point win where defense didn't matter as much. Fine, but he was good, and they're better with him. Nobody
That's
questions
the problem
that.
with you guys. You don't care about defense.
Like, nobody cares.
You're never
going to
give him the appropriate credit because
care
that's
about
what
it.
he's doing
Care
all
about
the
it
work.
like every normal fan and anyone affiliated with the game cares about defense to an extent, but they don't overrate it and count it more than offense. Nobody does.
Well, you're seeing the impact of it when he's really playing at his best on that end, and he has been a big time help on both ends of the floor this year when you look at the numbers. Just what he's doing to shut down certain guys, the organization on the defensive end, the difference when he's out there versus when he's not. And even on offense, they're getting better shots, higher percentage shots. He's in the upper echelon percentile wise of anybody's on-off numbers for effective field goal percentage, and turnover rate goes way down when he's out there. Like all these different things.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Them being out of control.
Let me ask you a question. For real, let me ask you a question, Bobby. The entire NBA world that's writing about trade deadline stuff, smart people that cover this game professionally, okay, for years and years and years, who understand and analyze the game, state as a fact, Boston's number one need is replacing Marcus Smart at point guard because they don't have a true point guard. That's what's holding them back. That's their greatest area of need. Outside of the little Boston echo chamber, this is known and talked about as the number one issue that the Celtics need to address. Why do we need to keep making Marcus Smart into something he's not? Can we just accept the fact that he's really good at defense? He's a soul and energy guy on this team. Having him makes them better. But in the role that he's in, this has been a struggle this year, and the offense has struggled for most of the year because they haven't had a true playmaker and another person who can carry a little bit more of the offensive burden. It's not insulting Marcus Smart to say that. Marcus Smart is really good at a bunch of stuff, but as the primary point guard on this team, they've struggled with him at the helm. That's not a knock on him. I don't know why we have to shoehorn him into being awesome and the guy who sets the tone and the facilitator all the time when he's been around plenty And we've seen mixed performances throughout the year. And offensively, this team has struggled with him as their starting point guard.
Yeah, but see, that's two different
Go ahead.
conversations, John. You know, the one conversation is
That's what I'm trying to
this team-
say. It is two
this team needs a
conversations.
new point guard.
Marcus Smart is good is one conversation. Marcus Smart is the right point guard for this team is another.
No.
Those are the two conversations.
No, the two conversations is, does this team need a new point guard, and do you need to get rid of Marcus Smart? You know, if you want to
It's
take
not
Marcus
rid
Smart,
of.
yeah, but if it doesn't mean that, okay, if you want to replace Marcus Smart in a trade, we've talked about it before. The point guard, if there is a point guard in that deal coming back, it's not going to be better than Marcus Smart, right?
You don't know that.
22 and 18 when Smart plays.
What team is going to flip their better point guard for Marcus Smart? We went through the list. We literally went through like some of the bottom feeders of the NBA, and we all agreed that most of the teams wouldn't swap their point guard for Marcus Smart. So then what does that mean?
That's a big part of it. Yeah, you can't upgrade by moving him.
Again,
at the same time, is Marcus Smart your best asset? Yes. So it puts the Celtics in a tough spot. You explore options for Marcus Smart. Yeah, sure. You know, if you can get.
But you're gonna lose a lot by giving him up.
If you're gonna lose a lot, okay. If you don't want him at point guard, okay, I get that. That's fine. But that doesn't equate flipping him for an inferior point guard to come in here and do what?
So again, but this is where you guys blow the argument. It's the assumption that moving on from Marcus means tossing him on the sidewalk for nothing. That's not the point.
About replacing him as a point guard, but you don't have a point guard option.
Guys, if
you could stand to lose a lot.
Stop. Let's say this: if your best wing is Harrison Barnes, and you're a Kings fan, and you're saying we need a better primary wing scorer than Harrison Barnes, is that an accurate statement? Yes. It doesn't mean you can trade Harrison Barnes for a better guy. It just means you need a better guy. Right? You just need a better guy. Of course, you can't trade a guy for a better guy. That's a ridiculous argument to make. If you could, everyone would do it. I'll just
stand. You stand to lose.
It would never happen. It's impossible.
It's insane. Why would you think that you could trade a guy you're not satisfied with for a better one? You can't. So you have to improve other places.
I'm talking about a better point guard. I'm talking about a better player.
That's
I'm saying a
key
better point guard.
because
this team needs a classic type point guard. This team needs a pass first point guard. Who the F is that pass first point guard?
Guys, it doesn't work that way. You don't trade guys. You don't trade guys for better guys. It doesn't work that way.
Well, this is the problem, John. We're not emphasizing enough how much better they've been with him out there. The on-off numbers, you've said it yourself. It's because they don't have an appropriate point guard. So they don't have an appropriate replacement level guy, so they drop way off when Smart's out of there. So if you just give up Smart and don't get an appropriate return back, you're going to be in a much worse spot.
But you're acting like the only thing that matters is the next.
You're
acting like the only thing that matters is the next 10 games or the next 20 games. You're building for the future of Tatum and Brown, guys. You're not building for who's going to replace Marcus in the lineup tomorrow. It's so short-sighted.
But why can't Smart be part of it? He's not 35.
Because at this point you've seen him playing for 7 years. He is not.
And he's been great.
He is not your starting point guard, guys.
Listen, it just depends how you feel about him. I've seen Smart do a lot of great things for this team over the years. And in many situations, when he's been emphasized, he's come through and gotten it done for them in the playoffs, in starting point guard situations, coming back from injury here and lifting them off the ground. He's not the problem. So I'm not looking at it and saying you got to get rid of him because he's not the solution.
Why do we keep saying get rid of him? Why do we keep saying get rid of him?
Because there's no clear path to finding something good by moving him. The value just isn't there around the league. So you don't just give up and hope and pray that something works out of that. Listen, I'm willing to listen to the Brunson solution there if that's the direction you go in. But he's a shorter guy who's going to be much worse on defense and isn't necessarily a ceiling raiser as a playmaker. We just
won't be available.
We just underrate how much Smart can help
you. Exactly.
So the year is 2025, and the Celtics have just had their 5th straight 500 season. And then
Marcus Smart is not expiring. He's actually got a brand new deal. But
exactly. So we'll just ride out this core. They'll be 500 for 4 more years, and then we'll think, oh, maybe we should have gotten another point guard.
I'm saying, what's the rush, John? What's he, 37?
What rush?
No. Is he on expiring contract? No.
Listen, I have said.
What's the rush? We're in year 7.
He's been here for 8 years.
No, I'm saying You know what I'm saying? I'm saying
Oh my God.
they don't have to trade within the next 3 weeks, or the world's gonna, come crashing
Listen,
down.
No.
John,
No, they don't.
I'm
They
not a
don't have
guy
to
who
do it right now.
I'm not a
I
guy who's going to
guarantee it's a
defend.
better deal for Marcus in the future than it is right now. I guarantee you.
I'm not a guy who's defended Smart to the end of the earth. I wanted them to get ahead on this situation and trade him for a guy like Collins. You certainly, I think, were 100% right in trying to flip him for Ball at one point and getting really aggressive at making a move like that. They'd be in a much better spot right now with Ball over Smart. And there's certain guys you look at around the league that you can get ahead on. Halliburton, who I love, would be phenomenal if you could get a guy like that. There's certain people I think that they have to start to look at now and get ahead on the Smart situation and project growth into the future and being that starting point guard. The problem is that you're behind on so many different guys, including Halliburton. There's no chance you could ever get him from the Kings, especially for Smart. So
Missed
what's
out
out
on Murray
there?
too.
Yeah, Murray, another guy who's just grown. So you can start to forecast someone, and I'm all for that. Brunson might be that guy who's the next massive leap at point guard, and you make an aggressive offer to Dallas this offseason. I don't think it makes sense now. But keeping Smart for now makes sense. You can address it in the offseason. I don't think there's a lot of opportunity that you're foregoing by keeping him now, just for salary and different reasons. It's just I wish we'd emphasize how
What about
good
Dinwiddie?
he's actually been for this team over the years. Dinwiddie's been horrible this year.
Yeah.
I know,
Awful.
but now he's available. That's the thing,
That's
right?
a bad
Those are the guys
reason.
that
That's a
make
bad
them-
reason to go after a guy. Well, he's available, so I
He
mean,
shot one
No,
for
but if he
12
was
on
unbelievable,
Are we really gonna pull up Dinwiddie's shooting splits and compare them to Marcus Smart?
They've
as the
been worse
reason
than
why he doesn't
Smart's.
worse? Okay.
But
Well,
again,
you're right.
Bobby,
We might
you
as well
just
pull
said
up-
you got to get ahead of it. You know, you're not again. If you want to find the best players in the NBA, yeah, I can list those guys off too. But you're not going to get those guys. So if that's why I said, okay, well that makes him available. Yeah, if he's not having a great season and he's on a team that isn't really winning and maybe they're looking to shake things up, those are the types of guys that are available. Sound familiar? Sound familiar to what the Celtics are going through? Why do you think Marcus Smart's quote unquote available? So you guys need to understand that. I know that some of you guys do, but apparently not everyone does.
That's the kind of move that could burn you, I think, just because he seems
It's
to be going on a
sometimes not
downward
making a move can
trajectory.
burn you. We're watching it happen.
Literally, the entire situation they're in is because of their indecision up until this point, and this is what they've been left with. So again, you're talking about, and this conversation isn't even about
This is about them
trading.
drafting horribly. That's
This
what this is about.
conversation is not about moving on from Marcus Smart. This conversation is about the Celtics' need for a better point guard. That is a different conversation altogether. So the Celtics need for them to be clicking at a higher level, a different point guard. There's a world in which Marcus Smart could have a role in that. If you had drafted a guy who was better than that, and you could pay him and Marcus Smart his salary to be the sixth man energy guy, your team is that much better for it. Okay, it's just
you might be right about that, but
it's
they can
two
still
different
accomplish that, John.
conversations. Marcus Smart is good. This team needs a better point guard. They can both be true. There's no reason to say you can't trade him because of X, Y, and Z.
That's still possible, John.
Yeah.
Whether it's a draft or let's say Brunson wants to come to Boston because he would have clear reign as the starting point guard in Boston. It's just a hypothetical, but you don't necessarily have to give up Smart to Dallas in that situation. If he really wants to come here and that's his intent, then the move happens. I mean, we just saw it with Ball to Chicago. Chicago didn't have to give up anything extraordinary to get him, even though it was a sign and trade. So I think that's still a little bit of a reach, as Sherrod said. Draft is probably the more likely situation where you find that permanent solution at point guard. I'm with you, John. I don't think Smart is the solution there just because of the inordinate amount of time he's playing the two guard next to Tatum and Brown on the ball. So that's not a great fit for him right now. I just don't think the path to solving it is by giving him up. I just don't think the value's there.
Again,
I just don't think
we
the
just
guy on the
keep
other side
saying
of the
giving
deal.
him up, and I just don't think that's it. You're not giving him up again. The idea of
Well, what
trading
kind
Marcus,
of deal? Just think of a hypothetical.
the
where you would
idea
give
of
him up.
I think
trading,
you mean trading him away, right, Bobby? Just trading him away.
Yeah.
even
Not
tr-
giving him
giving trading Marcus Smart is all about a reset, not about an
Well,
improvement.
what's the just think of any deal,
If
John.
you
that would-
trade Marcus Smart, it's for future assets or anything, or it's an offense defense flip for
So
a
like
team
picks?
that has. It's either an offense defense flip where you get lucky and another team really views their need for defense the same way you view your need for offense, and it works. It's trading strength for strength. We've got a good defense. We can give up this. We need it. that would be one. Another one would be for picks or some future assets, and you're hitting a reset button and saying, we've ridden this out as far as it's going to go. It's good, but it's not going to get us there. So we're going to take a step back in order to take a step forward. That's another one. So both of those would be possible. But ultimately, somewhere you have to find a better point guard to run this team. And if the path to that involves trading Marcus in a circuitous way, you consider it. But it's not the only path to finding it. Maybe there's another way you can get there. I don't know exactly what that is because their resources are limited. If it's stacking a kid and a pick somewhere for somebody and that could work for you, yeah, you could explore that as well. I mean, but the need is obvious.
So
the need is obvious
between now and the end of the season.
That doesn't matter as much if you get the right guy back. I agree with John on all that.
Right guy, man. Nobody says like
what I'm just
mythical figures that John.
No, you can find it, Josue. There's a million point guards in the league, and they're coming into the league every single year.
That he's talking about. I'm not talking about point guards.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't know. Is it Barnes? Is it Grant? Those are guys I would love if you could get them in return for Smart. Listen, I'm down for that plan. The problem that I want, or what I want people to admit who are more hesitant to get on the Smart train here, is that he does help them a lot, and you would be losing something giving him up, which is part of a trade. You know, I've always said he carries more weight in the deal than John and others have thought at times. You know, you could have done that Gordon deal. I don't think that would have been a great deal with Orlando there. So there's a solution there. I just think that deal in particular shows the risk of trading Smart for a wing and not having a solution there after the fact. But they're in a tricky situation. There's no right or wrong answer here. And Smart, if you're not giving up Rob, if you're not giving up Tatum, Brown, or picks, Smart's got to be kind of the guy there on the block.
It's a matter of, look, you'll never be perfect. You can't be, because you just don't have it. So again, not every team has everything. Most teams don't have 2 all-star wings. Okay. So you're strong one place, you're weak somewhere else. So like if right now Smart isn't doing it for your offense, but you sacrifice him to bring in somebody who shoots better at that position, but also isn't a true point guard, maybe that's a balance. Again, there's a bunch of different. There's more than one. There's more than one way to build a team. That's all. And so let's not close our minds to it, because you look at the roster and be like, ugh, does that mean Dennis is our point guard, or who are you going to trade it for? There's more than one way to build a team. But right now, they're lacking at the point guard position, and it's been a problem all year. And it's obviously an area that people think they need to try to address somehow. How they get there, I have no idea. And they're not going to get there, guys. I mean, I don't know why we're fooling ourselves. We're having all these conversations, and most everything leans towards money-saving tax sort of deals. So, I mean, all of this stuff is pretty much for naught.
That thing looms so large.
Everyone's staying
so pressed up against it.
Everyone's staying here, and this is what it's going to be. And you're right. You might dump a Schroeder.
It's really bad that ownership hasn't come out and explained that situation, because the move was so clear.
But they can't do that.
Yeah, they can't.
They have to.
You can't.
They have to.
You can't tell your fans. You can't tell your fans we're not trying, and we think
your cards like that, Bobby.
But you can't say that. Keep coming here and spending money.
Well, we're all
given up on
that.
you. We've given up on you, but we want you to support us. You can't.
Listen, people are smart. They know what that deal was about, even if they try to fool themselves into the peripheral bonuses of it. Listen, we're going to try to continue to educate them about what's going on there. But the problem from our perspective is we don't have an answer. Is this just a one-year thing with the tax? Is this team adverse about the tax for years to come? There was no repeater tax threat here. There was no urgency to get under the tax. Hell, they might go over the tax again here in the weeks to come if the right opportunity comes along. But the problem is that we're guessing. And this is what a lack of transparency does.
I mean, I don't think we are guessing. I mean, if you and Sherrod, you're plugged in here, but I mean, every single thing that we're reading here across the league. I mean, that Hollinger thing in The Athletic today, I mean, that was depressing as hell. You know, it will stop them from doing anything to take on money, because if they're even $1 over the tax, they will miss out on a payout from the other teams, which should be at least $10 million. For a team that's in the middle of the Eastern Conference pack, has been pretty financially conservative even at their peak. I can't imagine them being over the tax line on February 11th, leaving any chance of that happening. So this is across the board. Everyone just knows Celtics aren't going over that tax, man. They're going to save that money. So again, so much of this is pie in the sky. I don't even know why we waste hours and hours talking about potential.
Because we don't have a sure answer, you know? Hollinger and others can write that, that 10 million would be nice. But I want to hear from Wick. I want to hear from the ownership group here about what their approach is on that, because they have said in the past, we're going to pay the tax. We're a consistent taxpayer, and it just doesn't add up.
What do you think they're going to say?
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't
we're
predict
not
the answers.
I can tell you exactly what they're going to say. Well, we're not reluctant to spend money for the right opportunity and for the right player that would put us into contention. We would absolutely be willing to go over the tax, but we want to make sure that we're being financially smart, you know, when we're looking at investing our money into players for the future, ones that make sense and really fit for the Celtics and what we want to do, and blah 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 blah. Bullshit.
Right.
You know, what it means is we're not contenders. I've told them don't spend any of my friggin' money because this team's going nowhere. If you showed me that you were something else, maybe I would authorize more spending. That's what it is. There's no benefit to saying it publicly. You can't really do that.
Here's my problem with that. It isn't one magic move that's going to fix this. They're multiple steps away. They got to start to set the table now. And that might involve paying a little bit of tax, just given where they're at financially. They're not threatened by the repeater tax. There's no massive penalty to being a little bit over. You just miss out on that 10 million bucks, and I'm not even really sure where that 10 million goes. And you pay like $3 million in tax. I'm not asking them to go 20 million over, but these backflips, and you've talked about it, John, dumping Thibault and getting back into the second round to get a cheaper guy in Edwards, dumping Cantor and Poirier and giving up Desmond Bain, just all these different, I wrote about this for Boston Sports Journal last week, all these different backflips that they've done to avoid the tax and squeeze guys in and just do all these financial maneuvers have hurt them. And this might be the latest in Juancho if they pass up on an opportunity to use that salary at doing something that could help them and set up the future and start to take steps toward where they need to be. Listen, maybe I'm wrong there, and there was just nothing there, but I don't know. The tax thing with them is frustrating.